before you guys this morning because I recently got one of those phone calls as well. And I've had them many times. First time as a sophomore at the University of San Diego, and then to follow Jesus. And then a few years later, a call to go to Mexico City and be part of a church planting. And then a few years after I got there to go to Miami and plant a church there. Then a few years after I got there to go to Puerto Rico and help build up the church there. Then a few years after that to go to Kingston, Jamaica and build up the church there. Then a few months after that to go to New York City and be part of the New York City Church of Christ, and to go to New Jersey, of all places. Come on, Jersey. And then a few years after that, to go back to California and go back to my home church. And I thought, okay, this is it. I'm coming in for the landing. There's where I'm going to sink my roots and build the church here. And then when we were getting comfortable, everything was running, the pistons were all firing, I got the call again. To jump onto the field with Hope Worldwide, something very dear to my heart. And I'm very grateful I got that call. In fact, first thing I just want to say to all you guys is thank you, honestly. Thank you, Ed, for inviting me to come and share and get to know the church and the ACR churches. You know, I was like, I don't even know if I know very many people in the group. And actually, I do know more people than I thought, which is great. But it's been great being here, getting in really great conversations. But I'm grateful for all the support because a lot of you guys have been volunteers for years. A lot of you guys have led churches that have been just very faithful in supporting the work of Hope Worldwide and sending money to places and to people that you will never meet. Some of them you will never see. And hopefully you'll hear good news from the places that we support. We're trying to make sure that happens. But I'm just grateful for your hearts that you have to serve the poor. And, Michelle and I, it's been an experience. You know, we started back in October. And as I said, we jumped in hands and feet. And we've been kind of on a listening tour, going to all these different cities and visiting and listening to what are the needs, what are people thinking, meeting with a lot of different groups and finding out what do people expect of Hope, what do they want to see happen in Hope, what's their convictions, what is the temperature of the church, so to speak, on different areas and different regions. So been traveling a lot. I get to go home tonight. I've been gone a week. I'm excited about that. Hopefully my dog doesn't bite me and wonder who I am. The good news is most of the travel, my wife gets to go with me. She's my assistant. And it's been a great experience just learning about Hope, learning about the church and what our convictions are and where we're at. Of course, this has all been part of the move of remarrying Hope Worldwide and the church, you know, bringing bringing Hope back to the church. For years, Hope kind of had to go out and defend for itself as we had the firestorm in 2001, 2002, 2003, whenever it ended in your neighborhood. Hope Hope lost about 90% of its funding, had to go out and fend for itself, and that limited a lot of what Hope could do. Those were the times when you might have heard people saying, well, you can't share your faith when you're on a Hope project, or you can't invite people to church, which I think we all look back and see that was a big mistake. So the movement has been to reunify Hope in the church, and I'm happy to say that we are one again. All right, we are one. And, Hope has a glorious history. I mean, amazing history. So many incredible things. This year, we'll have 25 years. This will be our 25th anniversary, which we'll be celebrating at Reach. And so many incredible things that have happened in the last 25 years. One of the most amazing parts of this is realizing where we're at. You know, we're all over the world. I mean, we're in so many cities and in so many parts of the world. And anytime there's a disaster, we're like the front line. We're there first. When the earthquake in Japan, bam, we're there. We're before anybody. Why? Because we have disciples there. You know, in Ecuador, we have disciples there already. Boom, handing out food and blankets, and in the refugee camps in Turkey and Croatia and in all these different countries. We're there. We're always, bam, all over the place. Because why? Because Hope is us, right? Hope is us. We're the disciples. You tear off the shirt, it's not an S, it's Hope Worldwide t-shirt, right? We all got one. We all, raise your hand if you got a Hope Worldwide t-shirt. So we all got our T-shirts. That's our uniform underneath. Okay, and I want to say that with special emphasis because I do think for a while there started to be kind of a them and us mentality, which I think was really sad because there's no them and us. There's just us. There's just us. So, and I want you guys to be proud of what's happening in Hope. Of course, hope is born out of a conviction. I mean, I remember sitting in the Boston Garden. I think it was Doug who preached. It was Doug who preached the sermon, "Remember the Poor," and being so convicted because my background was community organization. Before I became a Christian, I was working with kids in gangs. I was crossing the border and working with orphanages. I was doing all these organizational stuff in the community and serving. And then when I became a Christian, I got challenged to get out of all that, which I needed to do because I needed to focus. But I think I kind of just forgot about the poor in a lot of ways and forgot about that part of Jesus' ministry. So hope is born out of really a conviction that this is part of Jesus' ministry. I've heard it quoted twice already. Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. This is the ministry of Jesus. One of the challenges for me was I felt like last year I felt we had a breakthrough in San Diego. We spent the entire year focused on Jesus. Literally, we started out with the whole church with a 3-day fast. We had Steve Kennard come out and do all his material on Jesus. I told him, give us everything you got. He's written all these books. And I said, I want to get the church radically focused on Jesus. Every sermon for a whole year, 52 sermons on Jesus. We started out with a 40-day quiet time in the Gospels. We did workshops on we were just going to get everybody focused on Jesus. And it was an explosive year for us. We had many breakthroughs. I think in a lot of ways, what I felt, and this is just my perspective, was that, for a while the church had been in reverse, then we got it out of reverse, then we got it into first gear, then we got it to second gear, and we were stuck there for several years. Last year, we got out and got to third gear. And we still got a lot more to go. We still got a lot more to change. And I would even say in our focus on Jesus, we still have to grow a lot. And I realized that we weren't nearly as focused on him as we thought. And we weren't living nearly as focused on him as we thought. And the words of Jesus saying again and again, "Away from me, I never knew you," rang in my ears. How well do we really know Jesus? I had the campus one time, I said, we're going to write down every scripture we know that Jesus said, every quote we can quote. And it was frightening how few things that Jesus said we could write down. Everybody knew a lot of stuff about Jesus and about things he said, but what he actually said, there wasn't that much. So here I was all excited, running down the track with this, and then I got the call for Hope Worldwide. So wait a second, I'm on a mission right now. I'm going to restore Jesus, and then I realized, wait a second, this is the ministry of Jesus. This is just another region of his ministry, but it is his ministry. And, and of course you've got Matthew 25, the sheep and the goats. And, that is one of the scariest parables. We all want to know what's on the final exam. Here it is right there. Read Matthew 25. That's what's on the final exam. And then of course Luke 10, the question has been raised all over. Well, okay, I know we're supposed to help the poor, there's lots of scriptures. But is it the poor of just God's kingdom, or is it the poor outside of his kingdom? Are we supposed to, most of those scriptures we use are talking about God's people, not about the poor in the world. But I think Luke 10 answers that pretty clear when the guy says, well, who's my neighbor? Who do I have to help? Whoever is in front of you is who you're supposed to help, right? Whoever had compassion on him, whoever showed mercy. And then we have the example in the book of Acts of the church and not having any needy among them. So there's plenty of examples, but this whole endeavor of Hope Worldwide, it's not a gimmick, it's not a trick, it's not even so that we can be more attractive to the world, although it does make us more attractive to the world. It's not just because it's what the millennials are into, although they are into helping the poor. It's not just so that we can shine, although that does make us shine. It's not just so it gets us into the doors and hallways in meeting rooms of kings and queens and presidents and premiers, although it does that all over the world, it's because it's God's will. It's because it's Jesus' ministry. That's why we do this. And I always want to be clear, I'm not asking for a personal favor. Please help the poor. For me,
Good point.
I'm trying to live out what Jesus has called me to. And I want to help the disciples live out what Jesus called them to. So I'm just going to share a little bit of what we've been learning and developing in Hope Worldwide. Okay? And we're really working on improving and growing and being our best. Because this little listening tour, definitely I got an earful in a lot of places about what we need to work on. And it's been great. It's been awesome. We want to be our best for God and our best for the church. Amen. So here's our goals. Number one, to provide a hands-on, meaningful experience for disciples of all ages to serve the poor. Just to help facilitate that. And that will come in many different forms, whether it's the medical brigades, the English as second language classes, the youth corps, like I said that twice because it's so awesome, single corps, family corps, disaster relief, Martin Luther King Day. I can go on and on and on, but those are some of the highlights. So those are some of the big ones of where we're able to mobilize disciples, organize disciples, and help them to get hands-on experience serving the poor. There's something incredibly valuable about that. You get to experience Jesus. And it's not for the sake of experience, but something happens inside. I had a woman come up to me weeping. She had two beautiful little girls, and she asked me to take her girls. She was giving them to me, her daughters. And she wasn't a bad mom. She just knew she couldn't feed them anymore. She couldn't protect them anymore. She was living on the streets in Tijuana. And she was afraid they're going to get picked up and put into prostitution. And they would have. She needed hope. She needed a solution. And we were able to provide that for her. But just helping somebody who's suffering, or holding somebody's hand who's dying, or bringing baskets of food to somebody who's watching their daughter die in front of them, and bringing hope to their family. Not to have a nice car, not to have a bigger TV, but to be able to eat another day or two and survive. And you begin, something happens. We understand the power of hope, the power of Jesus, of proclaiming good news to the poor, of how that validated his ministry to care so deeply. It resonates with us. Why? Because we're made in God's image. We're about rescuing and helping, right? And serving. Because that's what God is about. So, one, it's just enabling the disciples to do that. And, we have all these incredible organizations and doing amazing things. How many, just out of curiosity, how many of us have been through Youth Corps or been involved with it? Okay, quite a few of us. So we know the power of that, and the power of how that impacts our youth, second generation, third generation. I don't know what generation we're on now, but all the following generations, right? And how it changes their lives. Here's an important number. 50% of our kingdom kids that are not disciples yet become Christians within 6 months. Actually, within 3 months. 50% get baptized right after Youth Corps. How would you like those odds? How'd you like to go out to your campus and know that 50% of everybody's going to get baptized? And that's not just any kid. These are our kids. These are our children. Number 2, assist the church in helping and serving the extreme poor within the church. And this is a mandate from God. This is, whether you go Old Testament, however, there need be no poor among you, for in the land of the Lord your God is giving you to possess as your inheritance, he will richly bless you. Or in Acts 4, which is the picture of the kingdom of God. And God's grace was so powerfully at work in them all that there were no needy persons among them.
That's awesome.
that we take care of each other.
Yeah.
This is deeply rooted in the idea of justice, which is one of the three principal things God highlights, that we make sure we take care of each other. And we've got great things going on out there. The service brigades, now they start with the church. They go to the church, they serve the church, they help the church. Then they go up in the villages and up in the hills to help the people of the community. And we're learning this lesson, I would say, honestly, we're learning this lesson right now of how to help the disciples that are in need. And it's spreading. Number 3, to facilitate the teaching, serving, healing ministry of Jesus. And of course, we got everything from disaster relief, the medical brigades, the hospital training, the early childhood development classes in Africa, the family equipping in Africa, and other places as well. Of course, we have already referred to that, but I mean, great things happening that are impacting the communities and changing lives forever. With thousands of lives, the vicious cycle of poverty is getting broken so that these kids can grow up and have a real life. Yeah. And of course, many of them get baptized. The work that's happening in Cambodia, you've heard a lot about this. I just got to go myself for the first time last month, and I was just blown away by the work that's being done, and by the reputation that Hope Worldwide, the church, has in this country because of what? What are we known for? We're known for compassion. We're known for quality service, excellent standards, and top training. In this country right now, 60% of the medical staff is being trained in Hope Worldwide hospitals. It's a national impact. I got there, the Minister of Health wanted to meet with me. Wanted to meet the new Hope CEO. Opening doors. We're in talks right now with Harvard. We're in talks with Mayo Clinic of working together. Just lots of great things happening. Of course, our global disaster relief has just been amazing. It's been stellar. Like I said earlier, we're always on the front lines. We're in the most dangerous places. We're there. We're there before anybody. We were there in the Nepal earthquake, in West Africa with Ebola, and the Burundi conflict, and the Ukraine conflict, in Indonesia. We've got a national reputation. And of course, in the refugee disaster situation, in the largest disasters since World War II, we're there. We're not a big presence there yet, but we're making a difference and we're serving. We actually facilitated buying that hospital because of stories of volunteers heard of people being carried through country after country that were wounded. One guy was pushed on a wheelchair. He'd been shot in Syria. He was pushed on a wheelchair through Turkey, through Greece, through Macedonia, where he almost died. He was put in a hospital. So we got him an ambulance so that we can start taking and moving people. I was amazed, and there's a lot of challenges in this role, but there's some really cool stuff too, like going to a meeting at United Nations in Geneva and meeting people they're so up on Hope Worldwide. They're amazed by us. We're in a sense, we're this little tiny organization with a huge bite, where we're making a big difference. And this guy's one of the directors of OCHA, the Office for Coordinating Humanitarian Affairs, and he loves us. He said, "You guys have the best volunteers in the world." Wow. It's like, yeah, our volunteers are disciples. That's why. He's just the best. They have great attitudes. They're eager to serve. They're happy. They're smiling. They're the most amazing people. Yep, that's my brothers and sisters. Amen. And he actually invited us next month. We're participating in the first World Humanitarian Affairs Summit in Istanbul, Turkey. This is a big deal to be invited to this and to be invited to participate. And we're asked to have a booth there and provide information of what we're doing. Number 4, providing training and expertise in serving the poor. And this is an area we really want to develop and grow in. This is one of the things I heard loud and clear is we need more training. We need you to help us in the congregations to get into the city. How do we do this? So we want to provide that. Some has been there, but we have a lot of room for growth. Of course, at this conference coming up, at the REACH conference, we're going to be celebrating our 25-year anniversary, but we're also going to have 20 plus classes there. These are just a few of them that I thought might interest you. How to start a Hope chapter, how to effectively serve your community, how to organize fundraisers. And we're getting basically all the people who are the best at doing this to teach these classes. And we're recording them, and we're going to have them in a library on the Hope website. So if you can't go to the class, you can have somebody. But I would recommend sending somebody to these classes. If you're trying to start a Hope chapter, or you're trying to be effective, or whatever your interest is in your situation, send somebody to the class and make sure they get some training. We're going to have Kennard do what the Bible teaches about serving the poor. Because there's some misunderstandings out there. And there's some, I would say, confused convictions about what this means. Both ways. From that, some people think, oh, this is the primary role. No, it's not. Primary role is seeking and saving the lost, okay? But this is part of that. The most important thing is people go to heaven. But this is part of that, part of showing God's love. Or that, oh no, we don't really have to do that. Those scriptures apply to other people in other situations. No, we are going to be, yes, it's on the final exam. We already covered that. Okay? We're going to have a huge presence. We get to do the Sunday collection. I'm so grateful for the leadership allowing us to do that for Hope Worldwide. We're going to have a Hall of Heroes where we have all different people presenting different things. Videos that will be coming out every month that you can show in your congregations. If you do a monthly collection, this will help a lot in that. We'll do a short presentation Sunday, our celebration. And right now, we're really kind of revamping the whole USA presence. One of the things that I've heard, again, loud and clear, was a number of people saying, okay, I love that we got all these international things, but what are we doing here in the United States? What is our impact here? So we hear that loud and clear, want it to be a great impact. I mean, there's a lot of great things happening. I do have to say that, because I can tell you this, when I meet with the chapter leaders, they don't like hearing that we're not doing, because we actually are doing a lot of great things. But we're not doing one big signature thing. So that's like Cambodia in the hospitals or Bolivia in the clinic. But so we're going to have discussions on that, and we're actually going to be rolling out a whole new division that's going to be focused on the work in the USA. Okay, so it's under construction. You got ideas? You have thoughts? Please, I'm all ears. We're working, right? Okay. Number 5, help us all be sheep, not goats. This is an essential thing. This is an essential part of our Christianity. I think we know that. I think we're growing in it. I appreciate so much all that has been done, and yet I know we can grow a lot. There's something very powerful about helping somebody in distress. This is the role Jesus had, right? One of our volunteers took this picture before he reached out and helped her in a boat. Over 750 refugees have drowned like this. Those life jackets, I have some of them. They're fake. They actually fill up with water and sink you like a rock. They're not real. The refugees are getting ripped off all the time with these fake life jackets. Actually, my son is putting together, he's a marketing major, he's putting together a fashion show in a couple of months, and they're all going to wear the life jackets, all the models, and it's going to be a fundraiser for the refugees. Here's our challenge. We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair. And I know sometimes people are perplexed about hope, too. We're communicating. We've got some challenges we got to face, and we've got to grow to get the support that we need to really take care of Hope Worldwide. Really, what is the support we're looking for? Well, for the local efforts and for the global efforts, both. It's not an either or, because I get this a lot. Well, should we be focused on our cities and our communities? And there are people who feel passionately about that. That clearly God has put that on their hearts. They're like, okay, that's fine about the rest of the world, but we do have poor people in our neighborhoods. We do have people suffering in our cities. And then there are people who feel strongly like, well, yeah, but the level of suffering and the level of poverty is way worse around the globe, and feel passionately about that. It's not an either or. You got to feed your kids. You don't pick which one you're going to feed. You just feed them, right? It's local and global effort. And where it gets complicated, I understand, what about supporting Hope Worldwide versus what if we send it directly to a program? Of course, everybody wants to send money directly to the program. Here's the challenge. This is my team right here.
Yeah, come on.
These are my leaders around the world. And they're an amazing group. These are all people who got the call, just like you and I did, to go somewhere, to leave their careers, to pack up, move to a third world country, or move from one country to another country, to devote themselves, to get paid less, to not have as good insurance, not have as good a retirement plan, and to deny themselves and live in these other countries. Some of them get sick, some of them, just like all of us as missionaries, right? Well, we got to take care of them. Yeah. We have to take care of them. Amen. And the challenge becomes is everybody wants, well, I'm going to give $10, and I want to make sure this $10 goes to the little kid in India, not to admin and leadership. Okay, amen. But who's going to take care of these people? It would be like if our members of our church just said, we want you to evangelize the world, but we don't want any of our contribution going to your administration, your salary, or your health care, or your retirement. Wow. So you guys need to go out and raise your own money, and our contribution will go towards world evangelism. That's exactly what it's like for us. So I'm trying to educate everybody that we got to take care of these people who have left everything and risking their lives. And you know, and I want you to know, like, the first question I started out with is, do we really need a Hope Worldwide? Really? And then the next question was, do we need a CEO? You know, can we just do it with all local leadership? And like oftentimes, leadership can be the necessary evil or the necessary good, depending on how you look at it. Yeah. Look at it, right? Things happen through leadership. So yeah, this role is important. These roles are important. Yeah. None of those miracles would happen without these people doing this. So we have to figure out a way to fund that and take care of them and make sure they're taken care of. You want to see an amazing TED Talk? It's called "The Way We Think About Charity is Dead Wrong." This guy blows it out about how in the United States we look at charity, we want them all to be at 10%, and you know, he compares that to the business world, to any other normal setting, and how ridiculous that is, that we've got to take care of the charity who can turn around and change the world. Right now, where we're at, every dollar we get, we turn into $10. So we're able to do this by the money that's given. So what is International Day of Giving? Well, International Day of Giving is specifically to take care of Hope Worldwide, to basically take care of this group of people, to make sure that they're being funded and taken care of. You know, every check that's donated, it's got to go through administrators and accountants, and got to make sure we fulfill all the laws, and it's a mountain of work, but we've got to be righteous, amen, and make sure that everything is handled properly. You guys know the history. The big drop happened, and Hope's been just really surviving, and that's what we want to get it out of, just surviving. And even that, it's barely doing, to where it's healthy, it's solid. We're making sure everything is lean, everything is tight. What does full support mean? It's $1 per person per week, or $52 per person per year. The average American spends $300 on sodas. Okay, so we're talking 1/6 of what we spend on Coke or Sprite or whatever. I think we can do it. What do you think? And so you say, well, what about the local work? Okay, how about $2 then? Okay, or what about we sent money to India. That is awesome. That is great. We still have to take care of Hope Worldwide. So we still got to make sure. But so even if we tripled it, made it $3, whatever. And I'm not saying promoting another number. I'm just saying there are many different ways to do this. It's really the heart that we got to take care of people. And this a burden I feel. This year, where we at, 75 churches gave at or above the 2014. 39 churches gave less. We actually we had a lot of people step up, but unfortunately we had a lot of people step back too. So it roughly came out to about the same as the year before. If everybody participated, we'd have 2.1 million. We could run Hope off that. And we could take care of everybody and keep doing what we're doing off that. So, what role do you play? We're all in this, amen? I woke up one day and saw this. And for me, it was to walk away from lead evangelists of San Diego and devote
Come on, Robert.
Whatever time God wants me to hope worldwide. For you, what is it? What is it? What is Jesus calling you to? We have this plan, the Hope Advocates team. We have brothers, evangelists who've stepped up to kind of promote and advocate for hope in their regions. Something special is happening right now. And I see God's hand moving powerfully, and hearts being changed, perspectives changing, to say, hey, we got to grow in this. We got to repent of this. We've got to do better in that. And I hope to have the same heart with hope, that whatever we need to change to do better, to be a useful tool for the church, and to be the tool that God can use to impact the world and change the world. And I already see it. I see God's hand moving in powerful ways. And to me, it's a very exciting time. And the perspective is changing. Yep. You know how sometimes people will come to church and they want to know, what's this church going to do for me? And when you study the Bible with them, you hope that perspective will change to what can I do for God, right, instead of what are you going to do for me? Yeah. And because, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with hope. I think the perspective got to a funky place, and I had it. Okay, what's hope going to do for me? Wrong question. It's what can I do for hope? What can I do for the poor? What can I do to make a difference and change this world? Yeah. And I think that I see that changing, and it's exciting, because that's when you unleash the Holy Spirit. Yeah. It's when you unleash the hand of God, and amazing things can happen. I mean, we are building a network around the globe of compassion. It is being recognized by national leaders, premiers, kings, ministers of this and that, by the United Nations. And in some ways, it's kind of funny. Some of our hope people are bigger heroes in the world than they are in the kingdom, because the world sees their impact and what they're doing. And in the kingdom, they got to fight for their salary, to get their salary. And that's, in one sense, it's good. It keeps us all humble. But in another sense, we got to take care of people, And I feel that burden now, being in my role. But what's really exciting is I believe that we are just becoming more and more like Jesus as we grow in our service. So, great.
If you don't mind.
Yep.
And it's our chance. Yeah. Amen.
Amen.
So, bring it on.
Every year I give to the Combined Federal Campaign. I don't know if our church is aware of how many military people we have and how many government employees we have, but that is an amazing opportunity to give. I give to Hope every year through CFC. And I don't see the money. I know I sign a little piece of paper and how much I'm going to give, but it's something that we have as a church of a lot of military and a lot of government employees that if we tap into, I think that the giving can increase quite a bit.
That's great. That's awesome. Can you do me a favor and write that down, and I'll make sure that I talk to Russ about that to look into that. Russ Hargrove is our new Chief Development Officer, and that's exactly the kind of thing he's out there doing right now.
How do you think you can do a better job instilling the conviction about serving the poor in people that we're studying the Bible with, or maybe like young Christians, so that this really becomes part of the ministry that we really put forth, like not just kind of as like, oh, this is a good thing to do on the side, but no, this is really a conviction to that.
Yeah. The two things I think of first, one, just including it in your study of Jesus. Even just reading Matthew 4, this is what Jesus did. If you were to write a list of everything Jesus did, 75% of the things he did involved helping the poor. So it's quite a bit. The other thing is take them with you. I mean, non-Christians love doing this stuff. We go down and build houses in Tijuana. They all want to go. Everybody wants to go. They all want to serve in some way because it's pure religion. It's pure religion. It's not doctrinal. It's not sectional. It's not any of this stuff. It's just pure religion. And even the most pagan partier out there knows it's right and what they should be doing.
Quick question. the company that I still work for part time, they're always looking for ways to support the community, and they're always open to suggestions. And so my question is for the company I work for is in Virginia Beach. Who would be the ambassador to send that individual to speak about Hope Worldwide, because they wanna give their contribution
Yeah.
to a
Yeah, well, we have an expert on that now. Russ Hargrove would be the person to talk to, and I would happily give you his it's Russ Hargrove at hopeww.org. But if we could talk afterwards, and it's on the website, he can make the connections. If any leads you have in that way, which are fantastic. It's amazing what they would do. And one of the cool things is we've got such a reputation of expertise now. For example, Ford Foundation called us up and said, you guys are great with disaster relief. We have $250,000 here we'd like to give to somebody. Would you guys want it? You know? Yeah, I think so. I think so. That's when you know you've built up your expertise, when they're calling you, because they know you're going to do something with it.
The reason why I want to bring that up, because the company that I'm still working for is Ardex, and there's 5 disciples that work there right now. And I'm not there physically; I'm remote, and so to use them as kind of like ambassadors to share about Hope Worldwide, and so again to create that partnership, because they're so open to helping out the community. They
That's great.
that they need to.
That's great.
Get. And so.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And there's some companies that want to, they really want to make a mark locally, and then there's others that want to make a mark internationally, of course, depending on their business focus. And corporate social responsibility is a big boom right now. This is the big thing now. How responsible is that company? So they love us, and all of a sudden we can make them look good. So, and they can help us. So it's a good deal.
I want to piggyback on what my brother said about the combined federal campaign. When I was in the military, I contributed to that. But every federal employee across the country has an opportunity on an annual basis to contribute to CFC.
That's great.
So once you get that ID number and you're in that Rolodex every year, you're talking about millions and millions of dollars that go to CFC.
Wow, that's great.
Designated right now. Not just military folks. That's the biggest.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
We definitely want to help promote. I know what's been in my heart is I come from the 90s, and those T-shirts they're amazing. Do you have an official logo that's updated that we can use, that we can print? We advertise in our church like crazy from our cars.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Shirts, because we want to do
Yeah.
that for our fellowship.
And we actually have, there's a place on the website where you can download everything, and if it's the logo, it also comes with instructions, which are really important because you can't change anything on it. Yeah, there's some scary looking versions of our logo out there, so we've got to make sure we stick to them. Thank you.
Yeah, and for us, serving the poor is a huge part of our ministry. We actually count the cost. We count the cost with people. We count the cost about serving the poor. I think I'd love to hear more thoughts. I know it's under construction as you're talking about Hope Worldwide USA, because there's a lot of energy and effort and activity that happens within our local chapter, within our local church. And so I think that's a part of what makes it problematic, for instance, with regards to the International Day of Giving, because we're giving all year long to multiple different things. So that's, I think, streamlining, and I know you've heard this a million times, but streamlining the ask, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
And really a greater degree of, I think that big central project that we're doing together, I think, will provide a unified framework. So I'd love to hear, I don't know if you're able to do that today, I'd love to hear a little bit more thoughts about what that looks like.
Okay.
Because I do think, like in our congregation, easily, we're giving more than $100 a member.
Mm-hmm.
We're definitely not giving that. We didn't this year give that much, or last year give that much to the International Day of Giving.
Mm-hmm.
And so no one felt it. Like in our congregation, they're like, oh yeah, sure, we're always doing hope.
Yeah.
We're always doing serving the poor. So I think talking about that. I know from your experience as an evangelist in San Diego, that was a big part of your church's DNA. And so I'd love to just get your perspective now in this role, having been an evangelist, that's a part of the DNA of your church. How does streamlining that ask really look?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Did you want to say something
Yeah,
about that? Yeah, go ahead.
I think we may be onto something in Philadelphia that I'll share with you guys. I may have talked to you about it before, but it's exactly what Will's bringing up. And obviously, Hope was based in Philadelphia for many years. But to be honest, we had challenges hitting our $52 per member, even in Philadelphia. And it wasn't that people didn't have a good heart about the poor, but it was logistics. It's just like Will's saying, there's a lot of asks through the years, and things get complicated, and people aren't clear on things. And so we decided that we would, and we call this More for the Poor. We take a 10-day stretch of time in our calendar year and say that we're going to ask our members to raise $100, and then for our teens in our campus to raise $50. But in that $100, $52 of it goes to the International Day of Giving. But then the rest of it goes to help some kids go to camp each summer, for disaster relief, and then also with our local Saturday Academy. So that money goes into reserve, but the $52 a member comes off the top. So that takes care of our commitment, and last year was really our first year for just nailing it. We just hit the $52 per member because our target was $100. And people feel better, it seems, rolling it all together. They're like, okay, I can, 52, that's fine. I'll give that to Hope for the, the support, the administrative stuff. I don't mind that because part of this is also going to help kids go to camp. Part of this is in reserve for disaster relief, tsunami hits, whatever. Mm-hmm. And people feel better about that. But then we do it in a 10-day stretch of time. We say, guys, we're going to go for this for 10 days. We do a walkathon. We have jam quests with the teens, all that kind of stuff. And so we kind of get the whole year's benevolent fundraising done in 10 days. It goes in the bank. Hope gets theirs in the fall. We're done. So that seems to be working well for Philadelphia right now.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And there's a lot of different ways people do it. Even in San Diego, where we have the Mission Center of Hope there for years now, and even in San Diego, we have different regions doing different things. Some take up a monthly collection and it goes to Hope Worldwide, and then they take up one big collection that goes to the Mission Center. Others do the exact opposite. They take up the monthly for the Mission Center and then do the big International Day of Giving. The truth is, just really speaking from the inside here, International Day of Giving is kind of a pain in the neck. It'd be better if everybody just gave every month, imagine if all your contribution came once a year. It's just better if people just gave consistently, or the churches just gave monthly. That would be far better. And let me say one thing that I actually didn't have it on here, but I want to say this because I know as an evangelist, sometimes you hear something like this, like, oh man, more work for me. I can't even keep up with what I got. One of the things we learned at the Mission Center of Hope, and we actually learned this at going to Hope Summits, there's 3 things required if we're going to do anything in San Diego. This is the test everything has to meet. 1, that there's a real need in the community. Sometimes people will have an idea, I want to work with this needy group, but that's not really a big need of our city. So it has to be a real need. Well, let's start a group for left-handed Croatians. Well, we don't have any Croatians in San Diego, so we're not going to start a group for that. 2, there's got to be a want in the church. There's got to be people that want to serve with this. Okay, if there's only 2 people in the whole church that want to do this, it's not going to happen. And 3, the most important one, is there's got to be a champion for it. Somebody is going to take total responsibility for it. It's going to make it happen, because it cannot be the ministry guys. The ministry guys have too much on their plate already. And the ministry guys should be supportive, show up, help, do stuff, but they can't be the ones in charge of it. And we have an amazing homeless brigade. We have an amazing orphan brigade. We have an amazing foster kid brigade. We've got all these brigades. They all have their own champions. Every city will be different. That's the flexibility of the chapters is to identify what's the need of my city, and what we hope to do is to be able to facilitate the expertise, the training, the things they need in those areas. So we're headed in that direction, full speed. So
as far as disaster relief, I'm in the process of getting my license in counseling, and
I'm really interested in getting trained in disaster relief. I reached out
Great.
for the last 3 or 4 months, but to be honest, I didn't get a lot of response.
Okay.
I got kind of no response, to be honest.
Okay.
To be honest.
Yeah.
We need to be honest.
Yeah. We're working on that. We're working on that. I tell you
No
that.
disrespect.
Hey.
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
I'd really like to find out how I can get trained in that. I'm sure other people will probably be interested in that as well. But
Have you heard of or met Charles Ham at all? Okay, he's our disaster relief guy. He's amazing. Give me your card. I'll make sure Charles calls you. Okay. I get to do that. I'm the boss. So.
And your mechanism for the support is through the international day of giving. Is that the way that works?
I'm not sure I heard the whole question. Sorry.
You mentioned
Yeah.
full support is $1 per week or $52 per person.
Yes.
And so my question is your mechanism to achieve that goal, is that through the international day of
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Just want to be clear. Second
Yeah.
question is, how do you turn that $1 into 10? Because I need to know that. No, I think
Yeah. Sure. I'll give you one simple example. You give that dollar to Hope Worldwide, right? Well, one of the employees at Hope Worldwide, who that dollar is paying his salary, gets on the phone and calls Johnson & Johnson and says, we need $10 worth of antibiotics. They say, sure, you guys are awesome. We'll send it to you. Boom. Now we got $10 out of that $1 that you gave. Does that make sense? Or another way it might work is somebody hears about how awesome Hope Worldwide is because that dollar went to pay for a brother who does marketing, and they saw the sign. They called up Hope and gave $10. So boom, there it went from 1 to 10. And it's been higher. Every year it goes up and down depending on in-kind donations, different stuff. So with that number should go up significantly even.
I was able to intern at World Vision over last summer, and just my time there, it completely inspired me. And I think I was one of 20 interns there, and I know that internship program just inspires a lot of young people to even have that mindset of I want to help serve the poor. And I don't know if you guys had it. I know youth corps. I participated in youth corps and love youth corps, but even a way to corporately work with Hope Worldwide and internships over the summer, even that we could encourage our campus students to be they're looking for jobs and internships, especially a lot of people with nonprofits.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in our churches know the name of Hope, less so World Vision, which is funny and how it works. But I think it's cool that we have internships and stuff like that.
Great question. I want to say a couple things about that real quick. One, yes, and we want to expand that. Okay. Of course, I'm an evangelist. I think like evangelists. I want a group of young men and women to train up. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm actually piloting it right now in San Diego. I've got a couple of Hope interns looking towards that. Two, I want to say this. Most of our interns end up going in the ministry. And that's significant because I think what happens in some churches, I've gotten this. I've gotten emails. I want to do something for Hope, but my evangelist says if I'm really committed, I'm going to do something with the church, not Hope. And so I'm oversimplifying, but I get it. It happens. I want to say that training is training, and they're going to get great training. Not a lot of them are going to go into a career in Hope. Most of them, they're going to use all that leadership training in the church. And if they don't go in the ministry, they're going to become pillars in your church, or large contributors in the church. So I hope we can work together on this, and it doesn't become a competition, or if you're A team, you go this, and if you're B team, you go that. I hope not.
So I've gone on a bunch of youth corps, worked as a global service intern for Hope, and stuff like that. I want to know kind of what the plan is moving forward for making it just more cost efficient for these young people to be able to go and do these things. Because I think it is awesome to be able to serve like Jesus, be able to learn, gain that leadership training, that kind of thing. But for a lot of these kids, it's just really expensive, whether it's buying or whether it's the cost of the program, for 2 weeks. It's just a strain on the parents. From the family side, it's a strain on the parents who want them to have this experience, but it's just a ton of money, especially when conferences are going on and that kind of thing. So I don't know if you guys have a plan to be able to make
We
it
do.
cost efficient.
we're pounding out the plan, but it has three main components. All of it to make it more accessible. The goal is to make it accessible for 90% of the kids in our church. 90% of them should be able to go on some kind of youth corps. That involves everything from scholarships to getting, a lot of churches have started scholarship funds, and we're encouraging that. We have our own scholarship fund we're trying to set up. Also to start setting up youth corps along the border so you don't have to fly halfway around the world. We've got developing countries that 15 minutes from my house, but really close to many of our major churches, and those can be far less expensive. So between the three, our scholarship, church scholarships, getting sponsorships, and doing things locally, or closer, I should say, I think we can get that down.
I don't know if a lot of us know this. I know I've heard a statistic on this one, but how does Worldwide now compare reputably from the secular world's eyes in terms of, you mentioned World Vision in that way? I think it'd be good for us to know, because we really want to bring our name higher.
Yeah, this is one of the challenges, is there's not a great system right now to evaluating charities. We use Charity Navigator, who really dinged us this year, dropped us from 4 stars to 2. And that's mainly because we didn't have a bunch of in-kind donations. So our income dropped dramatically, not cash-wise, but in supplies donated. And that set off an alarm for them, and they dinged us for that, which is really crazy, because their evaluation has nothing to do with how effective we are, how many people we're helping, how good we're at helping the poor. So that whole system is being overhauled right now. And unfortunately, when people see 2 stars, they think, oh, is there a scandal? Is there, what are they doing with their money? And that TED Talk, he totally goes after that, because what a rotten system of evaluation is out there. There's a new organization, actually he's starting it, to evaluate by their effectiveness, their organization, their prospects for the future, how well they collaborate with others, how well they change communities. It'll be far better, and I think we're going to score really high on that.
First of all, I appreciate you, Robert, being willing to step down from the job that you're doing and take on. I think a colossal job in leading Hope. I really respect
Thank you.
Absolutely. For doing that. My question is, I'm so grateful for all the relief work that we do. It is so needed, and there's millions, literally billions of people out there that are in need. As an evangelist, my first concern always is my people.
Yeah, sure.
And one of the things that I've been very inspired in the last 2 years, we actually got one of your people, Doug Stein, moved into our church.
Yeah.
And now he's incorporated twice a year. We send our people down to Honduras to the medical brigades, and my wife has been on 2 of those and got very inspired, and she came back because I'm going to Africa in September, and she's like, we're not doing any of this in Africa. And so she got inspired. So it's going to be small, but we're trying to piecemeal a medical brigade in Africa in September. And my question is there any, not just in Africa, but India and some of the other third world nations, is there any plan forward to try to bring some of these medical brigades? Because I've been over a couple times, and man, we've got brothers and sisters over there that are just in such dire need.
Yeah.
And I want to do everything I can. I'm grateful that it was on my wife's heart, and I want to be able to go over there and help these people out as much as I can.
It's a great question. Did everybody hear the question? Expanding on these brigades, it brings up a couple of important issues. One, that's awesome, and there are many places we can do these brigades. 2, I would say, I want to encourage everybody to do it through Hope Worldwide. Now, I don't know what the situation is there, but you just reminded me of this, and I was supposed to. Okay, good. She's working with Walter. There are groups going out right now calling themselves Hope Brigades. We know nothing about them, and they're disciples. They're good-hearted disciples, but there's no control over, are they taking care of business here? Are they making sure everything's set up? Are they taking bad risks? Do they know what they're doing? Are they putting anybody's life in danger? So I want to encourage everybody, if you wake up and an angel's telling you lead a brigade, call us, please. Call us. And we know how to do it, and we're good at it. And we will be happy to get it all set up. What you're doing, work with Walter. He knows how to do it, or any of the people on our staff. And that's really important because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. We've had people not in the Hope, but outside of Hope, people get kidnapped. My region had 5 people kidnapped. Wow. And 5 family members, 5 family members kidnapped when all the drug wars and everything. And so obviously we would never send a youth corps into a city where people are getting kidnapped like that, right? But somebody who's not from that area might not know that. So I'm just saying, please work with us on that. But yeah, the need is out. The other thing is we're trying to control the growth, because we have a limited resource of not only funds, but also people, and some people are already slated to do something else, or, what we're doing in Cambodia would work beautifully all over the world. But we don't have that many doctors in our fellowship to run things and to man it. So it's funny because I'm, as an evangelist, I'm a dreamer, schemer, planner. Let's go take it. Now I find myself much more in the role of, nope, not ready for that. Nope, we're not doing that. Nope, we got to be, which is an odd role for me, but it has to be done, or we'll spread ourselves too thin and we won't be good at anything anymore. We've got to remain excellent. So it's kind of controlled growth, controlled expansion. We had this happen to us as a fellowship. We sent out so many church plantings. We were sending out people who weren't ready, and we can't do that in Hope Worldwide either. So thank you for bringing that up. All right.
One thing, I'm very grateful that you are a church builder and now doing Hope. You know both sides. 2 questions. One is, are we allowed to share our faith when we do Hope projects now?
Absolutely. Please do.
I kind of had the don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, that was like 10 years ago, and unfortunately, it's still lingering out there. Yeah.
And so we can encourage people to share their faith when we do these things.
Yeah, here's the thing. In the United States, we can be loud and proud. You can have Jesus, Virgin Mary, whoever you want. You can be loud and proud. When it comes to international work, it's a different story. Okay, and that's important. So it's not going to be loud and proud in Pakistan, I can tell you that. Or even in Indonesia, and so there we have to be very careful. We're taking Paul's lead, as he was on Areopagus in Athens, where he quoted Greek poets, not Moses. And so we're being cautious. Okay.
And then the second question is, just to distill it down as a church leader, what would help Hope is $50 per member per year.
Yes.
Just bring Hope before my congregation more.
Yes.
Communication.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's really what you need.
That's really what we need, and we'll figure out where it all goes. Now, to be fair and to put everything on the table, there are some churches very committed to programs, and that's wonderful. They're sending money to India, they're sending money to Africa, they're sending money to Cambodia. We still need that $52 for Hope Worldwide. So, and I honestly, I think we can do both. I think we have enough faith and enough vision. We can do both. But not to confuse that. Yeah. Oh no, I was over here. Sorry.
Just one quick question. I've set up quite a few worldwide events, and then one of the turnoffs for me as a volunteer coordinator has been, although there's a very strong legal sensitivity presence in any kind of volunteer organization effort, and it can just be overwhelming because I'm like, am I even doing everything right? And okay, well then I don't even want to do it with now. And I love why.
Yeah.
I can just be well, I can just go and make peanut butter jellies and serve the homeless and just not brand Hope Wide with it, and then it's 6 to 10 minutes versus feeling like I have to do all these waivers and everything. And so I'm just wondering if there's a way, and I don't. Maybe the answer is no. But just I'm wondering if there's efforts on streamlining the legal part of it. So a lot of that even maybe falls on the volunteer coordinator and not the volunteers themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How that's communicated. So I don't know if that's possible. But
Yeah.
It's just something that's kind of been something that I think about a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's something I have to think about a lot too. Yeah, this is my nightmare. I'm a grassroots organizer guy, but we have to be professional. We have to do what is right in the eyes of men, and be cautious. We're trying to keep it. It's a beast that wants to grow, risk management, and wants to eat up the whole organization. So we're trying to keep it back, keep it right, keep it clean, keep it safe, and still walk by faith and go out there and change the world. So what I can say is pray for us. And I'm working closely with our risk management team to not let it choke us, or choke volunteers. And they're doing their best. I mean, we've got a great team of people, but we do have to, just like with children's ministry, you got to make sure the kids are protected. Just because everybody wants to help the kids doesn't mean everybody should. And it's the same thing. So yeah.
I just don't want that like legality message.
Right. No, I hear you. I am with you, heart and soul. Yeah. And just all I can say is please be patient and pray that God will work in spite of ourselves. So thank you guys. Thank you so much.